Greetings, students, and welcome to this edition of The Professor Travel. I am The Professor Travel, coming to you again from Orange County. Here on our site, we come together as a community in order to learn more, to discuss more, to travel more to different places that we've never been before, and to enjoy our travels. You can always reach me through social media. I am available through my website, which is at theprofessortravel.com. You can also find me on YouTube at The Professor Travel. You can find me on Facebook at The Professor Travel. And then I can also be found on Twitter at TheProfessorTR1 and on Blogspot, if you're a blogger, at theprofessortravel.blogspot.com. Today, I am very privileged to welcome a visiting professor with us. Tony Randazzo is with us today to discuss his recent trip to China. Say hi to everybody, Tony.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks, Tony, for coming on board. I really appreciate you taking time to debrief your trip with us. For my students that are just listening or who are maybe viewing this, can you tell us a little bit about maybe your educational background as well as your travels, places that you've been before?
Yes, absolutely. I hold a BSBA in management and MS in computer information systems. I have a few certifications as well. I'm in the IT field. And I have traveled, I consider pretty extensively. I've done a couple of trips to Russia, Paris, Luxembourg, Germany a few times, Holland, Fiji. I used to live in Hawaii, so I spent time in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
I'm from the East Coast originally, so I've been to Barbados, Bahamas. I've been to Bermuda, Acapulco, Puerto Vallarta, Belize, Mazatlan, Honduras, and I can go on, and include my recent trip to China.
Excellent. Just out of curiosity, have you counted maybe how many different countries you've been to?
No, I haven't. Eventually I'm going to get a map and I'm going to put a pin on all the areas and countries I've been to.
I've done that online. I think I'm up to 24 now, and I'm really excited. This next year, I'm hoping to get another 5 under my belt. So
cool.
We'll see how that goes.
Yes.
So like you were alluding to earlier, you recently got back from a trip to China, right?
Correct.
Excellent. So talk to me about the planning for this trip. How long in advance did you start planning for your trip to China?
Believe it or not, this is the shortest planned trip I've ever taken. Most international trips, I plan about a year in advance, for all the visas and other paperwork and just getting everything in order. This one was probably 3 months prior.
Wow, that is very fast.
Yes, I was invited by a friend of mine who was going back to China to visit his family.
Okay.
And I had just gotten back from Central America, and it was like the trip was coming up 2 months later. I said, why not?
Okay.
So it was probably 2 months. I take that back. It was probably 2 months.
Okay. Wow.
I got back in July and we left in September. Yeah.
That's even faster. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, then you had to jump on that pretty quickly. So in preparation for this, I know that China requires a visa. Did you have to go through their consulate ahead of time, or was it one of those ones that you do it on arrival? What was your strategy with that?
There's a lot of misinformation about visas in China. I can tell you, I could not do the visa before I got back from Central America because you need your passport to turn in for the visa. So I was probably invited on this trip just before we left for the cruise. So it was around June. And I did go through a third-party online service for the visa. However, during that process, I discovered that you do not need a visa for certain areas, provinces within China. However, there is a catch to that.
Okay.
And I only actually found out the catch was today. I did further research today, even though I just, I came back a few weeks ago. Yeah. I just discovered why, when I did go to mainland China, why they would not let me in, and they insisted I get a visa. When you Google it, you're instructed you don't need a visa because the government is trying to trying to promote tourism to some of their territories.
Yeah.
And the one that I went to, Shenzhen, did not really require a visa if you're going to be there less than 72 hours.
Okay.
And I think I mispronounced that Shenzhen, but I still struggle saying that sometimes.
You said it's Shenzhen?
Shenzhen.
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 Shenzhen, yes. Okay, got it. Okay, perfect. Now, I think when I went to Thailand a couple of years ago. I went in 2016, and we actually had to do a stopover in Shanghai. And they were saying that, yeah, like exactly as you're saying, if you're going to be there for less than 72 hours, you don't need to have a visa in order to be there. So
there's a catch. I found out the catch today.
What's the catch?
The catch is the 72 hours only applies if you're traveling by air.
Okay.
I took the ferry over from Hong Kong.
So then you needed to have the visa.
Then you needed to have a visa.
Okay, that's kind of crazy.
So Shenzhen did not require it by air, but if you're taking any other means, so in my case, the ferry over, I had to apply for a day visa, which I did at the ferry terminal when I arrived.
What was the cost of that, just out of curiosity?
Very expensive. You can get a 10-year visa for almost what I paid for one day. I believe it was $132 US.
Oh my gosh, you're right. That is incredibly expensive. But I guess it's more of a convenience thing at that point. They kind of have you there. It's like you have to pay it, otherwise you can't get in. So
exactly.
It's like, what do you do? On the same topic, were there any travel medications that you needed when you had to go over there, or things that you just got as far as boosters went?
No, I didn't. The only thing I brought over was my vitamins, and that was totally cool. I didn't have to bring anything else.
Okay, perfect. And as far as eating abroad, did you have to like adjust your stomach ahead of time? I mean, you only had 2 months to prepare for this. I don't imagine that you had a lot of wiggle room in that.
Well, I don't give any wiggle room because I don't adjust. I do not venture out to all foods, and I usually stick to what I know. Okay. So that was pretty much, I did a lot of hotel eating, and I ate at a Mexican restaurant and an Italian restaurant.
In China?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
In Hong Kong. Now, when we get to China, that was different because I went to my friend's house and had lunch. So I had no choice there.
Well, and actually, let's talk about the vacation. Let's go step by step through this process, so that way we can get a little bit of an idea as you walk us through this. So in pre-packing for this trip, did you, like, what were some things that you needed to know? Like, I'm assuming weather was one of them, but what other types of things that you need to be aware of?
It was mostly weather, and regardless of what I've read online, it was the complete opposite.
Oh, no. Oh, that's terrible.
So I did not have enough clothes. And nor did I have the right clothes, so.
Oh, that's going to make that trip really miserable. Did you have at least someplace to wash your clothes or something like that at all?
Well, the hotels, but, you know, there's always an extra cost when you want them to launder your clothes. You just make do.
I guess you have to. Did you bring with you any sunscreen or mosquito repellent at all, anything like that?
No, I mean, I have olive skin being Italian, so I don't really use sunblock. It was more or less the weather. You know, it rained a couple of times, and when I say rained, it came down in buckets.
Yeah.
It was like Florida rain, maybe even hotter. And the weather was just hot and 98% humidity.
Oh, that's unbearable. When we were in Thailand, like I was talking to you about, we had like 85% humidity. Yeah. And that was the worst I'd ever experienced in my life.
It was the worst for me. It was you constantly lost weight because you just sweated all the time. And you had to take 3 showers a day.
Well, like as soon as you get out of the shower, you're already starting to sweat. It's kind of gross. It's like,
at least that was a clean sweat.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
when you go outside, it's a different story.
We had planned for this a little bit ahead of time. We knew what the humidity was going to be like, even if it was only going to be like 80 degrees or 85 degrees when we went to Thailand. But we also prepared in bringing not just shorts, but also like gauze clothing as well as linen clothing. So that way it was a little bit more breathable. But when we went, we were actually staying in a timeshare. So we had access to a washing machine, and that was a little bit more, I guess, flexible on stuff like that. And staying in a hotel, which you're right, can be very expensive if you get stuff laundered. So let's also talk about where you left from. Now, I'm assuming that you left out of Los Angeles. Is that correct?
Correct, LAX.
Okay, fantastic. And which airline did you decide to go on?
American.
Okay, perfect. Now, are you one of those people who sticks with one airline, or is it just whoever's the cheapest or whatever is the easiest?
Well, I go for a nonstop. So whoever has a nonstop flight is my first choice.
Okay. I do the same thing. I'm just kind of like, just get me there. I don't want to change planes, and I want to get there as quickly as possible.
And I'll pay extra.
As possible. Yeah, exactly. LAX is, for us here in Southern California, I think it's probably one of the few that you can leave out of, unless they bring us up to San Francisco, and that's a whole another thing altogether. With the parking at LAX, did you just have someone drop you off, or was it one of those things where you actually took a shuttle over there or an Uber?
I use Super Shuttle.
Super Shuttle? Okay, so that's about $25, $30.
It's like, I think it's like $32 for shared.
Okay, that's not bad. If you have the time, I guess that's totally cool. My only problem with that is when I've tried to come back from LAX with those shuttle services, I just want to be home. I mean, I just traveled for like 20 hours on a flight or something like that. I want to be home. I don't want to deal with it.
It's 1,000% better out of LAX, except for prime time. I've flown them before. Now they no longer have a station at LAX. You have to call them, and they'll drive and pick you up from there.
Okay.
And Super Shuttle out of Orange County is the worst trying to get home, because not many people go to Long Beach from Orange County, apparently. But LAX never had a problem. On the way back, I waited less than 10 minutes.
Oh, that's really good. That's excellent. Good review on your part. Okay, so now when you got on the flight, were you looking at something that was a lot more cost effective, or did you try to upgrade into a business or first class? Like, what was your?
Well, I think the first class was about 15,000, a little more than that. I remember seeing, and then for that you get a private cocoon, and then they had the business class, which was a normal first class. But I just, for me, I'm a small person, so I took the coach, and I paid extra for the nonstop.
Okay, perfect, awesome.
But a lesson there, folks, and I'm telling you this because I experienced it. Do not go through a third party when you're booking airfare, because the airfare dropped from the time I booked to the time we were getting ready to leave because of all the protests in Hong Kong. And it dropped by $250. So my $750 ticket went down to $500. But since I used the third party would not give me the difference back, even though the airline said they would.
Do you ever use travel insurance?
I did buy the travel insurance, but I read the policy on that, and they were going to, I didn't have a valid reason for canceling for the travel insurance. However, I could have canceled. The tickets were not non-refundable, so I could have canceled. But the third party was going to charge me the $250 that it was going to cost, that I was going to get for the refund.
So it was going to be a wash either way you look at it.
It was. If I went through the airline, it would have been just $250 credit, but the third party wanted that credit for themselves.
Well, I wouldn't use them again then. So
after 20 plus years, never again.
Lesson learned. What was the food like on the flight? Hopefully it was decent.
Well, interesting. I'm not really going there was okay. I didn't have breakfast. It was a three course meal. It was, I take that back. It was 3 meals. Okay. So I skipped the breakfast. It wasn't for me. Lunch, lunch I had, they call it a stromboli. If you're Italian, you would not call it a stromboli. It's pretty much a pastry dough rolled like a stromboli with just tomato sauce inside, nothing else.
Oh.
And then for dinner, I had fruit. I bypassed on everything else.
Okay, well, at least it was some level of sustenance to keep you alive. So that's
exactly. But it was unlimited snacks, so that was good.
Okay, so now you're flying for how many hours to get there?
It was around 15, but we made it there in around 14. I believe we got there about an hour earlier than what they had initially said.
Nice.
which,
Very good.
yeah, but it creates problems for the hotel. So yeah.
That's true. It's just sometimes those things work out and other times they don't.
It was a cascading, yes. You're happy and then you're sad.
Yeah, it's like now I have to hurry up and wait. So that's great.
Yeah.
Terrible. And when you went over there, how was your trip from the airport to your first location, your first hotel that you were staying in Hong Kong?
Well, luckily I went with a friend of mine who sort of speaks the language. He was born in China, although he speaks, I think he speaks Mandarin. They do not. There was some conflict there. We did manage to I remember, we tried Uber a couple of times. That did not work out at all. Okay, I'm telling you now. From Hong Kong International, it was just, they kept directing us to where the Uber pickup was, which is apparently down the road, across the street somewhere. After 2 failed attempts, we just took a taxi.
Okay, that makes sense then. How was the hotel there?
The hotel was beautiful. It was, we were spoiled because we stayed at the Marriott, and we were, my friend's a club member, so we had VIP treatment. Unlimited food, unlimited alcohol. It was good.
And how many days were you going to be in Hong Kong for?
So the whole trip was 9 days. And it was 7 days in Hong Kong, but going back and forth. So Hong Kong was the home base, but we did venture out and stay in other areas, and like Macao for a couple of days, and Kowloon for several day trips, and then to Shenzhen for the day.
I actually want to get into those in just a second.
Yes. But main base was Hong Kong.
Main base was Hong Kong. Okay. So you're in Hong Kong now. Let's go day by day. You're in there for 9 days. What are some of the things that you did over the course of those 9 days? Talk to me about like the different cities you went to, different activities you did.
We tried to figure out where we were and where we were going because nothing was planned.
So you didn't pre-plan any type of excursions at all?
No.
Okay.
And that was the fun of it, getting around. I could tell you, and I'll take you through it as best I can recall because we did so much, but we did get around by taxis, Uber, cable cars, double-decker buses, and taxis, if I didn't repeat myself, and taxis, and trains. And then we took a plane there. So I think we took every mode, and then we used our feet a lot. So we used every mode of transportation in this.
Okay.
I don't think there was anything we didn't, use. We didn't use scooters, but I didn't see scooters. But everything else we pretty much did to get around. You did
a ferry while you were over there as well, right?
What was that?
You said you did a ferry while you were over there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about the ferry. Yes, we did the ferries a few times. So, yeah. So the first several days we were close to downtown. I shouldn't say close. We stayed in downtown Hong Kong. So everything for the most part was in walking distance. But with the heat, sometimes you just want to take another means of transportation. And so we did. The best transportation you could take really is to buy a bus pass, because during the protests, a lot of the train stations were closed, and you didn't know that until you got on the train or until you try to get to a station, and then you get to the station and find out it was closed.
Oh, man.
So that was, I don't know I think it was more maddening getting onto train, thinking you're going one stop and you go like 8 stops, and because all the stations were closed, and then you're somewhere really far away and you're like, now what do you do? So there was that moment too.
Can I ask you a really quick question?
Yes.
Since you were looking over your travel insurance, do they cover civil unrest? Do you know if they did?
I didn't see that there. What they did cover was, if you got ill, if your travel companion got ill, if something unforeseen prevented you from traveling, and that was the extent I recall reading it. I mean, the thing is, it's a PDF file within a link. So you really had to go through all the details. I don't recall seeing that. what would have happened if we were there? If I got hurt when I was there, yes, there would have been coverage. I don't know about anything else though. Like if for whatever reason we got there and the airport decided to close or the government decided not to let anyone in and we had to turn around, I'm not sure what would happen in a case like that.
I know that a couple of years ago we went to Barcelona.
Yes.
And Barcelona is currently going through a political unrest there, where the government of the province of Catalonia is looking to secede from there and hoping to become their own country.
Yeah.
So it just so happened the day we arrived there, all the Spanish government arrested all of the politicians of Catalonia, and so there were protests in the street. And you're thinking to yourself, "Oh my gosh, this is going to get violent," but it wasn't actually. It was actually a normal, lots of banging on pots and things like that, but nothing really. There was no violence over there. Yeah. I don't know. Were you at any time scared, or was there any concern about
it? Well, I was born and raised mostly in New York and Jersey, so I don't know about being afraid. There was tense moments with the riot police and the protesters, and there was a lot of graffiti and just racial slurs spray painted everywhere. I mean, it was some moments where even Uber drivers and taxi drivers would not come to certain sections that we were at. And we were in, populated areas, downtown. But those were the areas being hit the hardest.
But there were protests in the airport too.
Oh yeah, but the airport, not when we were there. And and the day I left a few hours earlier to get to the airport just in case. And there was a clash between the protesters and the police. And I'm glad I made it to the airport because all that was going on downtown.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the places that you went. Yes. What were some other places that you ended up going apart from just the general environment?
When we were in Hong Kong, we went to a lot of, not so much churches and all. I mean, we went to, temples. We went to the zoo. We went to the aquarium. We got to go on the roller coaster. That's where the rain just, oh my God, just shut everything down. We went to the famous, they have an open market, and then they have a night market as well. And the night market was actually in Kowloon. So we spent a few days in Hong Kong just touring around, and I think we hit every major spot in downtown Hong Kong.
Did you do Disney at all while you were over there?
No, we didn't do Disney. Actually, it was closed.
Oh, was it really?
Yes, it was closed for all the protests. I don't know how long it was closed, but we passed the cast members and it was closed. And, Disney's Disney. It would have been, I see enough Disney. I live, 20 something minutes away. And there was other things like we went to Ocean Park. Mm-hmm. That's their SeaWorld and their amusement park area. We went to a lot of the markets, my friend is heavy into seafood. I'm the complete opposite. So I tolerated the seafood trips. We went to one of the oldest, a friend of his picked us up the first day. Could you imagine? After a flight like that, he picked us up and we went to the oldest Chinese tea place in Hong Kong. And we had tea that was a blend of 23 teas. Not the first thing I really enjoyed off of a long flight, something so bitter, but it was the experience.
But you know what? I can actually, I can relive that experience, because when we flew to Bangkok, we arrived in the midday, and that very evening we went on a tour of the harbor. We actually took a river cruise.
Oh, okay.
And we did like an all-you-can-eat buffet. They had a drag show on board. It was really kind of fun. But man, after 25 hours basically of traveling, because again, you're crossing over the international date line too, and there's it's just big to do. But man, we were exhausted, but at the same time, we also had a little bit of adrenaline in us. So we wanted to get out. We didn't want that time to be wasted. So I get it. And we also had everything pre-planned for us, because I'm a big planner, and that's the kind of thing I try to do whenever we go places. But yeah, I mean, I understand though. I mean, as far as at least getting those little bit of interactions, you only have 9 days, which you think is a is like a month. You know, you think it's a huge amount of time, but every little bit, you know, you got to realize, hey, I'm in another country. There's so many different things I can be doing right now, even if it's just going out to have some local fare, you know, and just,
Yeah, absolutely.
so,
Absolutely.
awesome. So that was pretty much Hong Kong at that point for you.
Yeah, and then I mean, I was looking up we went to the famous night market, and it's hard to always remember those things. I think it was on. I have to try to remember where it was at. But if you Google, you know, Hong Kong or Kowloon, it's actually Kowloon night markets. We went there, but so we did take a couple times. We took the ferry over to Kowloon.
Okay.
That was really nice. It's a you know, it's a different island, still, you know, still all under China, but they refer to Hong Kong as Hong Kong Island, and then you got Kowloon Island. So it was really nice.
Nice. Awesome. What did you do next after that?
So we went to Shenzhen.
Shenzhen? Okay.
Yeah, for the what turned out was supposed to be, I thought, sightseeing, but it was really meeting a friend of my friend, a high school friend, and he took us to his house and we had lunch there.
Nice. Was it more traditional lunch or?
So it was not what I expected. I expected to see how the average person would live in China, especially mainland China. Mm-hmm. It didn't turn out that way. We went by ferry, and that's when I found out I had to get a visa when we landed. Mm-hmm. He picked us up. Well, first we took a taxi to a location which, you know, I know it's close to his gated country club, and he picked us up in his Porsche and took us to essentially his mansion, and that's where we had lunch.
Yeah, that's not the average Chinese person.
We spent the day.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. So it sounds like you were still spoiled even after Hong Kong.
Yeah, it was not what I expected. It was mind-blowing to experience that. They were really fantastic hosts, and we wound up having lamb in a hot pot. I guess that's a tradition out in China. And with that, we had they gave us shots of liquor. Apparently, the bottle of liquor was $300, and we were doing shots of it. Oh my!
Oh wow!
So it was nice. So that was almost an entire day.
Oh,
just touring the house and they had a private tea room, so we had private tea in their tea room in the home.
Sounds beautiful. And by the way, I mean, you had taken some amazing pictures while you were over there. I got a chance to see them on Facebook, and they were just phenomenal. If my students ever wanted to, you know, get information on that, I'll just have them send me an email, and then I'll just reach out to you and say, hey, these people would love more information about some of these places that you've gone to, so that way they can get a little bit of a snippet about it.
Oh, that's yeah, absolutely. That's totally cool.
Awesome. So, okay, so you're continuing to be spoiled as we go through this process, it sounds like. What was next on your agenda?
So we had a few things we wanted to see, but we were looking them up as we go. We went and spent 2 nights in Macao.
Okay.
Now, Macao, again, it was a ferry, but that was an interesting ferry experience, and folks may not realize that. When you take a ferry like to Kowloon, it was only, you know, it was a state ferry, a STOA. I think it was called STOA, but I think it's a state ferry. But when you go to Macau, it's more commercial. So there are, I believe, 2 or 3 ferry operators, or 2 of them, but one of them operates 2 stations. You have to know which ferry operator to go to, and then of the 2 or 3, you have to know which of those goes to the part of Macau you will be going to. It's really challenging. We were very frustrated, and I ran into other Americans that were very frustrated as well. So it's something you have to think about. Like going to Macau is great. We have hotel reservations. We have found it really challenging communicating to anyone, you know, to where we need to be. So the thing is to keep in mind there's old Macau and there's new Macau. So you have to first know which Macau you're going to.
Okay. And on that same note, I know that Macau is a real big gambling location.
Oh, the whole thing is gambling.
Yeah, they have a huge gambling prospect. But is that more of the new Macau or is that old Macau?
But funny enough, they're both Macaus. So
okay.
They originally started in old Macau. And for whatever reason, they created New Macau. I never got the history on this yet. And they rebuilt all those same casinos in New Macau, but they're newer.
Wow.
And they're more glitzy and glamorous.
So again, you're being spoiled as you're going through this whole process.
And we stayed at a Marriott. I think, no, it was not a Marriott. I take it back. It was in the Marriott family. So they gave us VIP, a VIP, treatment. So we couldn't get a suite because we came in too early, they said. However, they gave us a high-rise room that overlooked all of Macau. So that was to die for.
And how was the food over there?
The food was, I got to say, again, I didn't need to eat outside because they provided unlimited alcohol. They provided a huge buffet breakfast. They provided a cocktail hour with a buffet. And then they had snacks at night. I didn't eat out at all. For 9 days, we had 2 meals. The first day when we arrived in Hong Kong, we went to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. And then the last night in Hong Kong, I went to an Italian restaurant. But in Macau, it was all about sightseeing. They actually created they rebuilt the Roman ruins in old Macau. I mean, it looked like the Colosseum in Rome. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
And we were blown away. My friend who's from China thought they were real. And I told him they were not real. First off, they couldn't possibly be real. And then I read something, in one of the visitors areas, and it indicated that it was not real. So
I want to say that they also have like a replica of the Eiffel Tower over in that area, something.
Yes, that's in New Macau. I went up on the top of it.
Oh.
It's breathtaking.
Wow.
It's Perusian. It's the Eiffel Tower, but it's not like, I thought it was the Paris Hotel like in Las Vegas. It's not.
Huh.
Perusian is the name of the hotel. And it is to die for. That I went all the way to the top. You pay a fee and you get to the top and the whole thing changes colors. I took every picture of every color the thing turns into. It was breathtaking.
It sounds
there's a lot to see over there,
Would you go back?
Yes, I would go back. I mean, we saw probably all the main attractions, but it would be nice to maybe focus on a few areas. I would like to spend more time in mainland China. Mm-hmm. I think we saw all of Macau. I'm not a gambler, and you get blown away by all the casinos, and you can't possibly eat at all the restaurants. China, in general, has a lot of restaurants. You go to a shopping mall, and we went to one shopping mall. I think it was 8 stories of restaurants. Like each store had all just new restaurants, and then they had a billboard that was probably 3 stories high of all the restaurants coming. It was insanity. Total insanity for eating. I'm not a big eater, and it was just, I'm glad I wasn't, because there's no way, it would have been impossible not to want to eat everything.
Was this pretty much the final piece of your trip, or like, did you have because that's a pretty massive thing to have. I don't imagine anything would be as spectacular right after that.
Yeah, well, after Macau, we came back to Hong Kong, and I went back to Kowloon, and the Temple Street Market is the one I was thinking about, and they had the night market going on. Thing to keep in mind when you're traveling to these places, because we was supposed to be after their holiday. I think it was I'm pretty sure of the rabbit, because I remember seeing rabbits everywhere. or bunnies, something. But they had a big, their big holiday. And apparently it wasn't a couple of days as advertised, or at least what I read online. It was for the entire week.
Mm-hmm.
So when we went to Kowloon, we went to we went to another market area, and I think that might have been the temple one. We went to so many, but you have to bring cash. You have to bring, you could bring Hong Kong dollars or the yen, but you needed to bring the currency, because the two ATMs on that island where we were completely out of cash. Oh, and then Bank of China would not, even though they were open, they would not fill the machine for whatever reason, nor would they let you go in and get money unless you were a member of Bank of China. So I used Google. So a good thing to learn, folks, is Google is awesome getting around, because I was able to use Google to locate an ATM that was in the prison. So there was a prison on Kowloon, and it wasn't that far. So we walked to the prison, and after debating whether or not we should ask to go inside to use the ATM, we just did. And the guard was nice. He let us in so we could get money from the ATM machine.
That's a hack if I've ever heard one.
What we're going to do there, one thing I stated earlier, the bus pass was really invaluable, because the bus pass, everyone took it. Even shops took it. Even places in the airport took it. Like, unbelievable. Stores took your bus pass to buy things. So we needed to refill the bus pass so we can get back, to the ferry to get home. Even the ferries took the bus pass. So well, not the private ones, but the commercial ones. So I'm sorry, not the commercial one, but the state one. So it's really important to have cash with you, and especially if it's a holiday. If it's a holiday or holiday week, don't rely on the ATMs. So we spent the day at the market, and looking at all the stuff, taking millions of pictures from all the protests, and we found this the oldest bar in Kowloon. They said in Hong Kong, it probably was. And it was called the Smuggler's Inn. Oh my, they let me take a dollar bill and write my name on it, my friend's name, and from the US and all, and paste, they give you a little piece of putty and put it on the wall.
Oh, cool.
So it was really good, but luckily they took credit cards. So credit cards are widely accepted there, but the merchants, want cash. And apparently the 7-Elevens, which there are probably 1 million 7-Elevens in Hong Kong and China, everywhere, on every corner was a 7-Eleven. They only take cash to recharge your bus pass, and then they only take a minimum of, I think it was a minimum of 50 Hong Kong dollars. So you had to make sure you had cash.
Okay, cool. All right, so then you're that's 9 days worth of travel. That's a lot of really good information. And by the way, thank you for sharing that too with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, another thing to note is they use something called WeChat. So it's quite interesting. We pay WeChat. No, it's WeChat. So it's similar to how when you want to buy something, we use PayPal.
Yeah.
But PayPal, the merchant has to have a PayPal account to deposit the money. The way they do WeChat, and the reason why it was so great, because we went to Ocean Park, they gave a 20% discount if you use WeChat. I think it's called WeChat. So all you have to do is you take your phone. Luckily, my friend had it installed, the app on his phone, and you scan the merchant's barcode. And then, so the merchant doesn't have to have anything. You just scan their barcode, and then the merchant just needs to verify that it was accepted on your phone, and that's it. So the taxis accepted it, the water park, the ocean park accepted it. A lot of places take the WeChat.
Nice, awesome.
So that was cool.
How was your return trip?
It was good because I left a couple of hours early, and I don't know why I did. I think I did because it was like gloomy outside and it was starting to rain outside, and I didn't really want to go walk in the rain. Mm-hmm. And plus, it was humid. I went to the airport early, and it was great because the protests broke out after I got to the airport. and it was all over the news.
What about customs? How was customs on the way back?
Customs was, on the way back was okay. There was one experience, it was inconsistent. So I forgot where it was. One of the ferries, it might have been it had to be Kowloon. Every time you go on a ferry to any of the other islands, any other part of China, you have to fill out an immigration form, essentially. Mm-hmm. And I actually forgot one time. First off, they don't tell you. So I forgot one time, and they made me go and fill it out. But I didn't know what they were talking about until my friend told me. Mm. And then the second time, again, I forgot, but my friend forgot too, because it's not something you think about. You think, you go on a train, you go on a ferry, you don't think about, they require you to fill out an immigration form every single time. So my friend didn't have his, I didn't have mine. They said something, they made him fill out his, but they let me go through without mine. It was so inconsistent.
So annoying.
I thought for sure they were important, and they were like, well, my friend was like, he doesn't have his. They just let me go. I think probably because I didn't understand what he was talking about, and they probably had enough, and they just let me go.
Get out of here. We don't need you.
But on the way home was great. American Airlines, the airport wasn't. It was big, but I didn't realize they didn't have enough food choices. So I was really looking forward to having my final meal before I left. And I found one place that was good. It was like my choice for my pickiness and eating was a McDonald's, or I did find an American burger place, and I had that. So I had the burger and fries, which I usually don't eat, and I had that as my last meal before flying home. But someone at the airport actually gave me their information. They were actually taking a survey. They said, when I get home, can you please go online and rate your experience at this airport and how it went? So I did that as well. And it was really, I think it was smooth going in and getting to my flight. Even though I was lost and I had to ask for help, because they drop you into this terminal with endless amount of, stations, but you don't understand where to go. Like there was nothing there was no signs that said American this way. It's like, if I had to go up and down each row to find out which one was American Airlines, it would have probably taken me over an hour.
Yeah, easily. I can imagine that. 2 follow-up questions really quick. One, do you have global entry at all?
No.
Okay. That's something I know a lot of my visiting professors use.
But they didn't require you to take your shoes off when you go to Asia. So that was good.
Oh, that's good.
So you're in and out quick.
And then in reference to the McDonald's, because I'm always curious, did it taste the same as local McDonald's? Or
I didn't eat there.
Oh, you didn't eat there?
I went to another burger place.
Okay.
But you know what was funny? Because I asked I said, do you have any other food choices past the gate, like when you get through security? They said yes. So I said, okay, I'm not going to eat at McDonald's. I'll just go through security, and there'll be a world of food like LAX. And it was not.
I want to say when we were in Shanghai, there was a Starbucks, and then there was a bunch of clothing stores, and that was pretty much all that we had access to.
There was overpriced duty free. I didn't do duty free. I didn't find anything reasonable about duty free. It was overpriced.
Yeah. So not a problem. Now, post-vacation, what are your takeaways? I mean, what are the pros and maybe some of the things that a first-time traveler should know when going to China?
I thought it was phenomenal. Everything we did, we didn't take any, my friend and I didn't take any group trips. I think it was great. We just went with the flow, especially with the protests going on. You really couldn't plan anything, because if you did, it would have been interrupted, and it was best that we just went day by day. What do you feel like doing today? And even though I used Google a lot to find out what was happening, we had already went to the best clubs. We already went to all the attractions, the museums, the parks, the rides, everything. And we did this on our, basically on our own. We planned it. We did our own transportation. So that was the best part of it. Everything was an eye opener, because it was the first time we were hearing it or seeing it.
It sounds like from the interview, it sounds like there were some communication challenges and some inconsistencies.
Oh yeah. So communication, you just have to bear it and move on. That's the best you can do. Use translations in Google. It was surprising in Macau because, all the casinos had concierge and people out front waiting on you, but none of them spoke English. And I thought that was a little shocking. However, when we did get to one of the casinos and we walked in, I guess we looked dazed and confused. And a guy came up to us, and the first thing he asked my friend, "Are you VIP members?" And my friend said, "Yes." So he shuffled us to a private elevator, took us to a private room, and took care of us. But other than that, you just have to find somebody that can speak the language and use the Google Translator. Check the weather 3 times. Bring an umbrella. I wish we had. Things. Look at other means of transportation because we use them all, and you would need that due to unforeseen, government closures of transportation. But as far as food, you had your choice. The Mexican food was to die for. The Italian food was to die for. And my friend loved
it. I was going to actually ask you that. Being an Italian, I was like, okay, what did you think of the Italian food in China?
Well, the manager was from Italy. Him and his brother managed the place, and they're from Italy. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. Yes. It was. I lucked out.
I have very high expectations on my Italian food, having recently come from both Rome and Venice. Believe me to say this. So
I spent time too. About 3 years ago, I was in Italy. I hear you, but it was delicious. So that's my takeaway. I mean, just plan as far as weather goes, and make sure you have cash. Don't worry about the language and all. Just expect it. That's really what it is. Expect the unexpected. The only thing I said that caught us off guard was the weather and how the language. Even though my friend was born in China and he speaks some of the language, not everyone was willing to adopt to what he spoke. So.
Excellent. Well, I really want to thank you so much, Tony, for joining us on this adventure. It sounds like you had such an amazing time. I hope you had a fun time doing this with me.
Oh, I did. Absolutely.
When's the next time you're traveling?
What was that?
Oh, when is the next time you're going on another trip?
Oh, right now I have Peru, Machu Picchu, 4 days of hiking to Machu Picchu. That's in September.
Nice. Awesome. Will you keep us informed as you go through that trip?
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about it. It's going to be amazing. And for my students out there, if you have any questions or comments, if you want to follow up on this or you have anything that you want to know about, send me a quick email at scott@theprofessortravel.com. In the meantime, please like, share, and subscribe everything in reference to this, and make every day a travel adventure. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.